Welcome to this new series that we're launching for the product engineers community. And this series is just about me and Luis today, but there could be someone else in the future. Just going through some interesting articles and some interesting blogs, videos that we just find every week on the web, and we just chat about it. Yeah, tell a few things about it, see what we think about it, and having fun. That's the most important thing.
And thank you for inviting me to be your first guest.
So today we chose to talk about one of the posts we found on LinkedIn, and the post is from Elena Werner, who is the growth program manager for Lovable. So you may know Lovable is like the GenAI tool for generating web apps with the GenAI. So I'm going to share my screen so we can have a look at it together. Okay. So yeah, so this is the
Maybe you
post.
can read it out loud and
Yeah, let's do it. So she says that at Lovable they shortcut the entire PM lifecycle. So there is no PM organization. It's just Elena and Christian. I think Christian must be the CEO probably. Let's check this. No, okay, it's just products. And all the engineers are PMing, which is great. And they plan to keep this as long as possible. They don't have PRDs, they just build. They don't have alignment meetings. They just have quick conversations, a linear ticket, and some occasional short documentation. And if something goes wrong, they just fix it because she says the cost of a mistake, it's less than the cost of delay. Very interesting take. And so they said that they are small now, but she says she believes even in larger organizations, vibe coding can enable you to go from idea to prototype or even production faster than you schedule a meeting. So just build it. And this post is to answer a tweet from Madhu Guru. I hope I'm saying it correctly. And he's the product leader for Gemini in Google, where he just says that they are moving from a writing first culture to a building first culture. So you start from a prototype that you can make with a tool like Lovable or V0, and then you use that to show what you mean, to what you want to pursue, and not a document that needs to be read by all the stakeholders or people that are going to build the stuff. Yeah, pretty interesting. What do you think, Luis?
so it's one of the things I did not have in my bingo card, that the whole AI craze would actually help us prove a few points about HL. And this is pretty much what I'm used to doing for a long time in terms of not necessarily getting rid of PMs or getting rid of product managers, but in terms of getting engineers to act more like product managers and take ownership of the whole discovery cycle of the product. And instead of sitting around, I can't do anything because I'm waiting for the requirements, the famous requirements that everyone keeps talking about. It's something that I'm used to digging around for and having teams dig around for, and then solve the problem and iterate. And in fact, when I was working as a consultant at Equal Experts, for example, for many of the engagements we had, we did not even have anything resembling a product manager. Sometimes there was someone who helped facilitate the stand-ups and so on, but there was really no bottleneck in terms of defining some high-level or even low-level solution to the problems. It's stuff that we dug around for.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I started to think about the role of product managers more like a optimization role, let's say. So as you grow as a company, you're gonna have a lot of teams, and you're gonna have every team that is assigned to a specific domain, part of the product. And let's say a company manages to kind of preserve the very lean startup culture in each team. The challenge that you get then is that you need something or someone that um, coordinates the work among all of the teams. Otherwise, you kind of can get to the trap of super optimizing one team. So I think that's where a product manager can really help. So you just get in the big picture, but for the all teams, not just one team. Um, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
To work this, it means that all the engineers need to have like a good mindset in terms of uh, product thinking, and yeah.
So it also depends on how you slice your product, because if you can modularize your product, then you can have more independent teams, and that the cost of that coordination goes down a little bit. But you mentioned the thing about the size. I think with size, you also get or start getting a different class of customers, customers that maybe have expectations and I don't want to mention the E word, but they'll be asking for estimates and dates and stuff like that. And um, it's not really the job of a product manager to set to set those kinds of things. It's like it's a more traditional project management kind of thing. Um, but yeah, there's some juggling to do once you get to a certain point where you might need some coordination and some clearer expectations about where the product is headed. About it's not just teams improvising or vibe coding or whatever it is we're doing now. The product and making it up as we go along. It works. It's great. It if the focus is on the customer and we're solving the right problems, then yeah, that's what matters. But there's also this uh, struggle and this stress and this pressure. It's kind of conflict where you have, customers also, more traditional customers also pulling towards, safety of knowing what's coming out next. Where is the product headed? Uh, is this a reliable, sustainable partnership that we have with you as a product provider, right? So that's where product vision becomes more important, I guess, long-term product vision.
Right. Yeah, maybe the solution is just staying small. I think that's more fun, right? When you grow, you start to get all
Yeah, you would
these
have to grow.
challenges.
That's the thing. Like everyone wants to grow. It's
You
always
don't have to grow, right? Why grow?
exponential growth. It's like cancer, right? It's always growing, and at some point it becomes unsustainable. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
If you think about Basecamp, like the founder of Basecamp is DHH, so the creator of Ruby on Rails. I really like their philosophy. Like everything they do, they can do it because they kind of stayed small and they're serving their customer very well. So they don't have to just get all these challenges that you get with hypergrowth, which is not always needed, right? So
right.
I think that they are the ones that still have a monolith. So everything like there is an article from the AGH called the Majestic Monolith. So all the teams are working on this single monolith. I think it's for Basecamp. I don't remember. I think it's for that one because they are different products. Uh, but yeah, that's if you
Yeah,
yeah sorry
don't have to finish it. Sorry.
yeah no I think if the goal becomes growing at all costs, then you start getting into all these challenges. But then I think maybe people never think about, okay, how can we just, instead of thinking about growing that much, and then so we need to grow all the the number of employees and all the processes. Maybe we can still try to grow, but how can we try to stay small? I don't know if many companies are doing that. Like, I mean, I'm talking out of ignorance here, but are there companies that are trying to preserve a smaller organization while growing? Because I don't think the two things are correlated, right? So
Right.
there could be also like a, yeah, I don't know.
You can be pretty successful without this exponential growth, and Basecamp kind of proves it because I remember I read one of their books, I don't remember which, where they were saying exactly that, and they were saying that it's when a customer of theirs grows past a certain point where they have bigger, more demanding needs, they just say, okay, no, we've been with you along this journey, but we can't do what you're asking. I think you need to upgrade to a more enterprisey solution or a more complex solution. And they just part ways. And that's how it is. And they focus on a very specific niche, and they are successful, and they have a sustainable business. They don't need to go crazy to
Yeah,
to be successful. And unfortunately, I don't think there's enough of these companies. And if they exist, we don't hear about them because everyone's obsessed with the hyper growth companies and not with the sustainable stuff. They exist. I know they
those are the
exist, but
loudest problem.
yeah, yeah. They're the ones that are exciting to write about and to read about and tweet
Yeah,
about.
yeah, absolutely. Um, but yeah, so going back to the post, I think what I get from this post is that, um, like as also Madhu Guru says in the tweet, role profiles are blurring, creativity and building are happening in parallel. So that's so interesting, and that's also something that I've been experiencing. So in the last couple of years, I also started to get into a bit of UX design, and what I experienced is that as you start designing something, coming from my background as an engineer, I start already thinking about what could be the technical challenges for this design, or if the design is already feasible, but while doing it, right? Um, and I don't know, with vibe coding, you can already get a hint about this, right? So if you have, like in Lovable, you can upload your Figma, and Lovable will just reproduce it with code. So it could be like a test of feasibility. You can just put your Figma there and say, okay, is it difficult to reproduce, or how long it's going to take? I mean, of course, the code that it generates maybe is not going to be great, but maybe you can get a good vibe. Just yeah,
Yeah, not just you, also the customer. You could put this in front of a customer and try it out. I mean, probably not in a production environment. I wouldn't I wouldn't fight code anything for the production environment. But if you're testing an idea and if it's cheap to prototype that idea, as you now can with these AI assisted tools, um, then putting something in front of the customers to try out and say, okay, does this solve your problem? And then you build it properly. Um, that there's huge value in that. And it's great that we're shortening these feedback loops. And also, you mentioned that you were, doing design, and that's nothing to do necessarily with vibe coding, but it's an important mindset to have. I mean, you don't have to be an amazing UX designer as well as an amazing engineer, as well as an amazing product manager, all rolled into the same person. But if you know a little bit about UX, if you know a little bit about the challenges, the technical challenges of implementing something, it becomes easier to talk with people who are working with you, because one man operation is, or one person operation is easy because you don't have to interact with people in that sense. But once you need to have a team to look after a product, then this collaboration is really important. And having the sensibility to know how design works or the processes work is really good to have as someone in the team, even if that person is not a specialist designer or a specialist
Yeah.
front end engineer and so on.
Mm.
Like,
Yeah.
that's really good to have because then talking becomes so much easier. And if it reduces the buzz factor, if the designer goes on vacation, you can still do something, even if it's not amazing. Um, and then you can improve it when the designer comes back and so
Yeah.
on. That's really good to have.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I also think that's what she means with the cost of a mistake is less than the cost of a delay.
I don't know. Did you hear about the guy who deleted the production database because of red coding?
Yeah.
I don't know if the customer mistake is lower, but
Why would you just go in production with that? Like, I don't understand.
but if you
It's
make it,
crazy.
I think there's a point that I was saying at the beginning, like this doesn't necessarily have to apply to vibe coding or AI tools because a, a lot of these ideas have already been floated around when ever since the agile movement and the manifesto was written. Having the Making sure that the cost of the mistake is low, like you make a small change, you push it to production, you test it. It's a very small gamble, right? You don't unless you delete the production database, but you make a very small gamble, and if you make a mistake, you fix it in the next commit or whatever. So that's something that's always been possible, not just with AI. Lowering the cost of the mistakes you make. You make a lot of risks, but very small risks rather than
Yeah.
one huge risk of deploying once every 6 months, like I've seen some companies do.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, in that case, it's, I think it's always been a cultural problem mostly. So
Oh yeah,
if the
definitely.
company doesn't value, let's say, experimentation, so they would probably go through the old process. Okay, let's do first the design, and then let's have a developer developing it. Then we launch it, and then we see how it goes. So because they don't want to make mistakes, right? They want to just get it right the first time. Um, while
I don't
if you
know.
want to, yeah,
What do you think? Is it you were mentioning that the culture doesn't value experimentation? Maybe the, they say they do. It's just that they don't know how to experiment, and
yeah, that could be also, yeah,
now suddenly we have all of these tools, right? And it's easier to experiment, and it's everyone's excited about this. So also you become more tolerant to having AI because if you say you've built your products with AI, maybe you'll sell more. So you allow it, like you tolerate this experimentation because it comes from these specific tools, not necessarily because it's experimentation, but because it's AI related or AI adjacent. I don't know. Do you think that has anything to do with this openness that we're now seeing to working in this way? I mean, Google is gigantic, right? And having them shift like this is pretty big.
yeah, 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 yeah. I think we are living in a great time. Like when it's about building new stuff, like it's gonna be really enable like us engineers, but also the roles to do way more than they can do. So I don't know. I kind of feel eventually will converge to something. I don't know. Maybe
I
it's
was
gonna
going
be
to ask what
the product engineer. I don't know.
I,
But let's
I was
say,
going to ask what happens next because
yeah.
eventually all of this madness will die out. All right,
Well,
we're
let's
going
say,
to adjust our expectations down to what it actually does. And maybe, we're going to delete enough production databases that people will realize, okay, we need to be more careful about using these tools. So I don't know, where do you think we'll end up? Uh, Both in terms of, I guess, the
yeah,
tooling and AI in general, but the, the cultural aspect of the teams and the companies, where do you think
yeah.
will end?
I mean, I may be a bit opinionated here, but so I would say I'm seeing. So I follow a lot of product managers, and I also read like Lenny's newsletter. And the main topic at the moment is how to use vibe coding to get prototypes out there and not relying on developers anymore for that specific thing. And but I think even more like they're trying to build all things. So I can see from the product manager world, they are already getting out of their lanes and trying to get into more the engineering side. Um, of course, they will reach a limitation if they're not technical, they don't know how to change code. But I can see this; it's boiling there, right? Then you have the engineers on the other side, all these things about product thinking and let's get into product decisions. So it's like kind of the opposite movement. Like we're trying to get into product because it's important for us. Then you have designers, which I still don't understand where they're where they're at the moment because I think they kind of live in their own bubble. Um, and as I get more into design, I think they are really important actually. And like everything that a lot of things that product managers do come from UX design. So talking with users and discovery, like understanding the problem. So, but I would say also designers would really um, benefit from learning to code, in my opinion. At least like mostly on the front end side. There is a new role in Google called UX engineer, and they actually do this. They are an hybrid between UX and front end, specific front end development, and their responsibility is to create great experiences. Which, if you think about it, it makes sense. Like design is a mix of both. It doesn't make sense to just design your thing on Figma, all nice and functional, and then end it off to a developer just to find out that maybe it's not great. So that's why I think what Madhugur is saying there, that you can do this in parallel, is very important. I in my head, I don't see the two things separate, like design and development. For me, they are the same thing. You can do them in small increments and test as you go. So all of this, I don't know. It could be that eventually we will have maybe less specialized roles and more like expert generalists that can do more. So we may have smaller teams and just have specialists for more to tackle challenges that come with growth, because in that you can't always do everything by yourself. So I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. I mean, it's a bit vague at the moment, but I have this feeling. Let's say. What do you
Yeah,
think?
do you think there's going to be a resistance? Because a lot of people are very happy to be specialists, I think. And so we have been able to, so in the company I work for, I was involved in recruiting, and we try to aim for that kind of profile, people who are generalists in a way, or that at least they're not averse to stepping outside their comfort zone. But in my experience, there's also a lot of people who are very comfortable and very happy to be working within their own bubble. So we have backend developers are very proudly backend developers, and front end developers are very proudly front end. And even inside front end are people who are all in on React, for example.
Yeah.
Like you put some basic HTML and JavaScript, vanilla JavaScript in front of them, like they pass out or something because it's not React. Um, I'm wondering, like, how do you fit those people in, uh, especially if you are joining a company as in a more generalist role. You probably want, or you've been asked to change the company culture to have a more efficient team, have a high performing team, and you have these people who are already there and they won't budge, right? They want to work like they've always worked and get the requirements
Mm-hmm.
and uh, do what they like within their happy little bubble and not be bothered about front end or databases or whatever it is that's
Yeah.
outside of their expertise. how do you bring those people in? Like, how do you make the whole environment more welcome? Or is there like fire them and end of conversation?
Yeah,
What would
hopefully
you do?
not. Hopefully not. So I think this is also where leadership has a very important role. So, I mean, the last big movement about software development has been agile, probably. So, at a certain point, agile started to become more famous, and people started to do more of it, and all these roles happened, like Scrum Master and Product Owner. I think Scrum kind of had a big role in this because it kind of made it a business. So I think we need something similar. So we need leadership to start to understand the value of this. We need more stories around this. We need more case studies where we can actually show how this works in practice. I think that's the challenge. So as more people embrace this way of working and as they share more about this, and I think more people will get inspired. And there are a lot of companies that are doing this now. They are just popping up like mushrooms. So eventually, there's going to be some cross pollination, I think. Um, and with AI, this is going to be just accelerated probably because we can do way more with less people as long as we understand well the first principles. So not just improvising. I think that's an important thing to say. I wouldn't just be a designer just vibe coding on Lovable. That would be stupid to think. But if I understand the first principles, maybe I can guide the AI a bit better. So I don't know. This is just like a theory for now. I don't know how it's gonna turn out, but I see more and more companies, for example, hiring for product engineers, uh, UX engineers. So yeah, I think they see the value. It's just that there are not many people or leaders that maybe really believe in this yet because they don't know maybe how to implement it or they don't trust it enough to risk implementing it. Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah. There might be a, uh kind of need for comfort, I guess, and in simple solutions. Because if you're hiring and you need someone to fit into the team, that you need to understand, what does this team need? Does it need glue between the people? Does it need, a specialist? And it's never a clear answer. Or you can simply say, we need two front end engineers and three back end engineers, and put them all together in the room and let them sort themselves out. I get it. Do you think we need to also have this role or this communication happen also outside of the teams across the organization? Do you see where it's going? Where, for example, people in the team are part of the recruiting process, and
Hmm.
they can say, "Yeah, I would like to work with this person day to day," right? Rather than have a manager do all the hiring and just parachute someone in.
Yeah, yeah. I think that would be a great idea either way, just to kind of assess who we're going to be working with on a human level. And um, yeah, I think if the team is empowered and like the team leadership, it's can kind of knows what's needed for this specific moment in time in the team for the product. Yeah, so why not? I mean, that would be great. Um, but yeah, I think to get to that point, you still need some kind of trust from leadership, and unless there is buy-in, I don't think that's going to happen. Of course. Um, but yeah, it's
So
going to be
what
interesting.
what do you think leadership sees in, for example, all these vibe coding tools? Because you mentioned having fewer people do more with the help of AI. Are they just looking at cost cutting and not necessarily at solving the human problems that we still have? Because it seems to me like a lot of people think I'm now using AI to write code, and I don't have to interact with another person ever again. It's
Yeah,
just me. I'm
that's the
pairing with
danger. Yeah,
my agent. I'm pairing with my agent. My agent is reviewing my PRs, and I don't have to deal with people anymore. And I
yeah.
don't think that's ever going to happen. Right.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. That's the dark side of it. So it really depends on the mindset that leadership has. So if they've been always about cost cutting, I mean, if they always seen tech as a cost center, of course they now they are like, yes, I can't wait to get rid of the engineers. But yeah, it's
I think a lot of the buy-in we see comes from that the economic incentive of
yeah.
getting
I mean, but
people out.
they can try, but they are delusional. I mean, that would never work. Of course, they're gonna hit a roadblock when they know that AI they can do
As we're
things alone.
beginning,
Yeah,
to see. I mean, I've been reading about it a bit everywhere, not just in engineering circles, but every now and then I see some article or post or tweet or something from someone who was laid off from their work as a writer, as a translator. Then they get called back months later because the stuff that's been written by the LLMs and translated by the LLMs just isn't good enough, and that
exactly.
they're hired back to fix the errors. So yeah, it's like I can't wait for the whole expectations to adjust back to a normal level because everyone's still a little bit crazy about this.
Yeah, but yeah, as I said before, I think it's very important to get the first principles right. So unless you know the foundations of what you're doing, AI is not gonna be super helpful to you. Yeah, maybe it's gonna take you just so far, but then you need to understand what it's producing. So that's why non-technical people maybe can get 80% there and then they stop because they don't know how to read code or change it. But then no one stops them from learning how to code. That's my point. That's um, you can learn how to code. It's gonna take a while, maybe 6 months of practice, and then you can get more dangerous. So that's what I like to see more people getting out of their lane, trying to get out of their to explore more skill sets, and that's where AI can be very powerful because it can work as an assistant to that, and we can work better. We can do more in parallel, let's say, instead of relying on end offs. So yeah, um, let's see how it goes.
I think times.
Yeah, it's time to wrap it up. Yeah, it was interesting. It was fun.
It was. Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll to the next episode, I guess.
Yeah, without a script, without anything prepared. So
Yeah, all improvisation. No AI involved.
no AI involved yet. Yet maybe one day
Maybe.
we'll keep building the library of videos to feed into a model, and then we'll be able to generate the whole podcast.
Yeah, our own clones. All right. Ciao, Luis.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.